Hi, my name's Emma, and I am the co-founder of the Saltways.
I'm Pete. I'm creative director and co-founder of the Saltways.
And we make effective and ethical films for the charity sector. And something that we're talking to lots more charities about at the moment, and we're being asked lots of questions about, is how to ethically tell people's stories in films for fundraising. So we're just going to talk you through today how we approach that process because that is at the heart of everything we do at the Saltways. So we're going to kind of break it down into pre-production, production, and post-production. It's basically the planning, the doing, and then what to do after. So I'm going to talk you through the pre-production, and Pete's going to talk you through production, and then we'll both kind of come back together to talk about post-production. So yeah, Pete, what would you say generally ethical storytelling in filmmaking is?
Um, from a filmmaking point of view, I would say the biggest thing or the biggest thing you want to put across is that you're with the person. So it's being respectful to the person and telling their story, and that's the biggest thing from my point of view as a filmmaker. It's to allow someone to tell their story, and for you to feel when you're watching it that you're with the person and not viewing them. There is a tendency in some documentary filmmaking and in the charity sector for you to be viewing someone through a lens, which you are practically, but you want the feeling when you're telling ethical storytelling that you're with someone and they're telling you their story, and it's done with respect.
Yeah, I think it's like really simply you're just putting their interests first, and that's quite hard to do. I think, and as a charity, especially when you're fundraising, um, you're thinking about you need to get the money in to be able to do more work. But when you're telling someone's story, their needs have to be central to that, to you sharing their story. So in pre-production, what we would do is we kind of flip it on its head a little bit, and we find stories that bring messaging to life rather than, I think there's a tendency to maybe find someone who says they'll tell their story, and then you kind of try and fit them into this pigeonhole or fit them into what you want your campaign to say. So instead, what we do is we work with charities to kind of refine their messaging through a fundraising campaign. And then we say to them, right, who is there within your charity that could bring this to life? And then we pre-interview people before we say, we're going to feature you on the film. We interview people online or on the phone to just to make sure if they can bring that messaging to life. And also it's that initial stage to explain what the project is, to get their buy-in at that stage, and to make sure you're kind of even getting sense checking whether they can give their full informed consent, which is a whole nother conversation, but that's obviously central to ethical storytelling as well. So once we have identified the person who's going to be telling their story, you really need to bring them along for the whole journey and make them feel like this is their project as much as it is yours and the charity. So that involves explaining to them exactly what the film is going to be used for, where it's going to be shared, how long it's going to be shared for, like how long the campaign's going to run for, what the targets are for the campaign. So to get them excited about it, we're going to want to raise 20 grand to be able to build this property, or get them really bought into the project as well, and then fully brief them about what's going to be happening on the day and get their input at that stage as well. Like, where do you want to be filmed? How do you want people to feel when they're watching this? Getting them to kind of shape the brief with you and the charity. So we would always have those conversations beforehand. We've had situations where, for example, people don't want to be filmed in their home, so we'll hire an Airbnb, or they might say, I don't want people to feel sorry for me, which again, that can come through in the edit. And if that's something they feel very passionately about, then obviously we'd make sure that that didn't come across once the film was ready to be released. And then we kind of give them the chance as well to meet everybody that's going to be on at the production. So any camera people, producers, we give them the chance to meet them online or over the phone again, or in person if that's appropriate, to build a bit of trust and to kind of start establishing that relationship. And then on the day of the shoot, we would arrive, and we always allow a lot of time for our shoots. So it's never just, are we going to turn up and spend 30 minutes with you interviewing you. Typically, it's about 3 or 4 hours, isn't it, Pete, that we would do if we were sort of filming someone's story?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like it's a collaborative process, so it's like to their own um constraints. Like, so you want the process to feel as much like a conversation, or just to give them the space to tell their story. So it's and we find that that is better if you're having a conversation, uh that it feels like, you're meeting someone, you're getting to know them a little bit, and then you start the documentary once you've kind of established that relationship, like face to face. And the one thing I would say about this stuff is it's a strength. These things add to making more powerful and engaging work, like allowing someone to have the space to tell their story. You feel passion come through the camera. It's like when you're watching the film, you feel the reason that this charity exists, or this person is so touched by what the work they've done or something that's happened in their life. And it's always the same. If you want engaging content, you want people to care, then you just let someone see the work that's happening. Let someone see the human behind the story.
Yeah, and I think in practical sense, on when you're actually filming it, that comes across if you just give people the chance and the space to actually say what they want to say, giving them the opportunity to really tell their full story rather than saying what they think you want them to say. Um, and yeah, just giving loads of time to do that, and checking in with them constantly throughout the interview, before and after, just to check if they're okay, especially if it's someone that's opened up about a difficult time in their lives. um, and making sure the charity can offer that support as well on an ongoing basis if needed. So we would always do a check-in straight after the shoot, and then a couple of days after, just to make sure they're okay. And most of the time they're just really happy to have been able to share their story.
Yeah,
um,
I think that a lot of the time using these kind of methods that we've built up over time, we found that uh, sometimes, even though you do get a really sort of emotional, quite a difficult story to tell, the person who's telling their story is much, much happier after, because they felt like they've been heard, and they felt like the filmmakers or the people who were in the room were on their level, wanting to hear their story rather than just getting something for the camera and leaving, trying to get their bullet points. So it becomes a really rewarding experience for the person who's been interviewed as well, we find.
yeah, and we say to charities as well, which I know can be quite scary, but embrace the unexpected. So if you've done it the right way round and you've done your research and you've got your person that you know is going to bring to life your key messaging, that might not look how you expected it to look when it comes to the edit, but that's where those magic moments happen, and it's where like true authenticity can come through. So, and then obviously once we've got to the stage where the film is ready to be released, it's always shown to the person whose story that was told first before it gets shown anywhere, for them to have their final say. And that's really important, to have that like full loop back with the person. And then similarly, once it's all finished, reporting back to them, oh, it raised this much money, or it's been viewed this many times, and this is the impact it's had. So again, so that they can understand and feel like they were really part of it and valued. Would you want to add anything about the editing, Pete?
I think the big thing is that we usually have quite long interviews, and you have to get them down to, a couple of minutes or whatever. But I think because you've done all that work to create this atmosphere of collaboration and safety, um, and all the work on the messaging, then you can refine something to make it feel. It's like all the work comes through even in those 2 minutes, even though you're having to refine it so much.
Yeah, and I think even with the most important thing, well, I guess a difficulty that we might have in the edit is the stories can sometimes be so strong, but you will also have to bring in the difference the charity has made, and obviously with fundraising, that's really important. So we always make sure that in those interviews that we do talk and ask them about, what would have happened if you hadn't have come into contact with the charity, or how has the charity helped you.
Yeah, one of the strengths of that is that you usually find the responses from the person who's been interviewed are really emotional because they have to then think about, what their lives would have been like without the charities. So you do get really nice, like emotional content that is completely related to the work that the charity does as well.
Yeah, which obviously is great for fundraising because then you can have a call to action that's like, uh, you can help more people like X. Please donate today. Which then you're kind of getting in their mind, the viewer and the donor is thinking, well, I want to also be part of helping to change someone's life, like this charity did with that person, and they've built this emotional connection with them. Um, yeah, so I'd say I guess the key things for me with ethical storytelling in films are make sure that it's collaborative and truly collaborative, not just, a buzzword. And that can feel like scary, but honestly you get such great results from it that you soon just start working that way in all aspects of your organization. And give people space and time, because those are the two most important things. And I think just treating the story with respect is really important to me, and consent, because they need to really fully understand what's happening and where the films are going to be shown and how they're going to be used before they can agree to being part of it. So yeah, fully informed consent is another thing that's really, really important. And yeah, this is a very short introduction to ethical storytelling. There's lots more resources out there. And we're very happy to answer questions as well if anyone wants to have a chat with us about it.